Call this the key. Number 1, students at Winnipeg Adult Education Center were surveyed and asked what their favorite activities were outside of school time. The following graph shows the results. According to this bar graph above, approximately how many students responded to the survey in total? So as soon as you see total, what does that usually mean you have to do? Yeah, you need to add a bunch of numbers. To get a total, you have to add a bunch of numbers, right? So I'm going to need to add how many there were for each of these things. So one quick way to do it is just to sort of estimate the number at the top of each bar. So how many played sports? Well, that's a 40. So what do you want to call this? 45? Yeah, okay. 45. How about video games here? Yeah, just over 50. Let's say 51 or something. Visit with friends, not quite 100, right? 98, 99, whatever. Earn money. If I called that 45, it looks pretty close. Yeah, I could use a ruler and see if they look the same. They look the same visually. I'll just call it 45 again. Chat online, 60, 70 would be there. 65? Watch TV, 38, sure. Again, as long as you're within 1 or 2 each time, you're going to be fine, right? There's no way to know exactly. It's an estimate. So then we have to add up all those numbers, right? 45 plus 51 plus 99 plus 45 plus 65 plus 38. How much? 342. Some people got a little bit higher. 348. They're all fine. Yeah, I had 343. If you had a little bit higher, that's okay, right? So probably anywhere from like a total of 340 to 350 or something would be pretty reasonable. Just depends on how you estimated them, okay? B, approximately how many students like to chat online or play video games? And in math, what does OR do? OR is a plus. So how many chat online? We go look at the chat online and we see 65. And video games we see 51. So how many do either or? You just add them together. So 65 plus 51 equals 116. Okay, and again, your answer might be a little bit different because it depends on what numbers you use for the chatting online and the playing video games. So if I was marking this, I would just look to make sure you use the numbers, reasonable numbers. So you may not have exactly 116, but it should be kind of close, okay? C, what percent of students like to watch TV? So I said watching TV was 38 people. Because it's a percent, I know I'm going to have to divide by the total and then times by 100. So 38 divided by the total of 343, or whatever your total was, times 100%. So 38 divided by 343 times 100. I had 11%. Did you get close to 11%? Yeah. And even if your numbers are a bit different, you'll probably end up with something close to 11%, especially when you round it off. So just remember, as soon as you see the word percent, you got to divide by the total. Okay, now as far as marks, the first one would be a mark, the second one would be a mark, and the third one would be 2 marks. Okay? So a total of 4. All right, next question. Students have a tough time with this one, with these question, like statements, okay? Usually there's a whole bunch of answers you could have that would be correct. Away from the truth. Misleading, okay? In 2015, 8 Canadians died in Cuba, therefore it is dangerous to travel in Cuba. What's misleading about that? So 2 things there, what? Doesn't mean, okay, yeah, so we don't know the cause. Yeah, they could have been natural causes, meaning that the deaths had nothing to do with Cuba, right? So it could have been natural causes. Okay, what else? So that would be an acceptable response.
Is there a right answer to these questions?
There's a range of, as long as what you say it makes sense to me, then that's fine. Yeah, we don't know anything about the causes. Another thing we don't know how many people went to Cuba. If 8 Canadians died, but 8 million Canadians went there, that's a very low percentage, right? So we could say, oh, that's somebody didn't charge this. Oh well, I have to speak louder. I'm capable of doing that. It's not charged. Okay. So we don't know how many Canadians went. We don't know the total number of Canadians. Who visited Cuba. I mean, Cuba is a very popular tourist destination for Canadians. It's popular for Americans too. Usually they just say they're Canadians because they're not supposed to go there. So anything you say that's reasonable is okay. Number 3. So there's a range of answers for that one. As long as you say something reasonable, you get a mark for it. A lot of students skip this question because they don't know what to say, right? But it's a mark. Just say something. Make it up, right? It's like the, how many of you have done the grade 12 English exam? Not yet? On the English exam, those who write a bunch of junk get higher marks than those who don't. We used to joke about the English exams that if you just took all the students' papers and you threw them down the bottom of the stairs, the ones at the bottom would get the highest marks because they have the most writing on them, so they're heavier. So just the more you say, the more you get. So those of you who haven't done the English yet, just learn to just write a lot. Okay? Don't worry about whether it's correct or not. Just write a bunch. Okay? Same thing with those kind of questions. They're called open-ended questions. Number 3, the graph below shows the amount of money received by the city for speeding tickets from these years, 2012, 2015. Has this graph been truncated? Yes. What does that mean? The vertical axis, or however you want to say that, does not start at 0. So it's been truncated, it's been cut. Okay, there's a mark for that. Half for saying yes, half for explaining what that means. B, your friend says that the graph shows that the city made 6 times more in speeding ticket fines in 2015 compared to 2012. Is that correct? 6 times more? No, on the graph, this is 6 times as high as that. But the actual money, is it 6 times as much? Well, this is how much? 14.4? And this is 13.9. If I did 13.9 times 6, is your friend right? No, because 13.9, which is the 2012 amount, times 6 equals 83.4 million, which is not the amount in 2015. It looks, the graph was designed to look like it's 6 times as big, but it's not. So however you want to say that, you don't have to actually show the math for it. You could just say, no, it's not 6 times as large, it just looks that way. Okay? That's what truncating did. It exaggerated the gap between the two. And a mark for that. 3 marks. Next page. 4. Use the blank area below to draw an untruncated version of a bar graph. So it should look the same, except it should start at 0. Okay? So I probably wouldn't mind having this beside it so I can see them both. And I should probably use some kind of a straight edge.
Here. Todd.
You have my favorite ruler?
Mm-hmm.
All right. You realize you're enabling me. I never bring it because I know that you've got one, right? Yes. It's like my 7-year-old daughter. It's just like, because I always get her food and drink for her, she always just sits and waits. I need a glass of water. I'm like, it's over there. But then eventually someone gets it for her, so she just waits.
She's smart then.
Yeah, she is smart. However,
It's not good.
it's probably not good. She routinely will ask me for things, and I'll say no, and she goes, fine, I'll ask Mom. Okay, so
Go to another resource.
yeah, I'll see who else I can convince to get it for me. So the highest number is 14.4. So maybe I'll just go from 0 to 15 or something like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Even then it's like, if I look here, I've only got about 7 centimeters there. I guess I could go by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. I can extend that a little bit to make that 16. Okay, and what was this? This was money in millions. Okay, and on the bottom here, it was year. These don't have to be that accurate because they're just bars. So let's just spread them out. Let's call that 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015. Okay, and the first one was around 13.9, which would be like
Gonna be dramatic.
right there. So I don't really care about the quality of the bar. And 2013 was 14.1, so slightly above. – 2014 was 14.3, which is ever so slightly above that one, not much. And 2015, 14.4, which is only slightly above that one. So you notice that because my graph is kind of zoomed out, they all look pretty close to the same thing, don't they? There's very, very slight increase between each of them. Yeah.
We can go by 5, right?
Yeah, you can use different amounts here, whatever you want. You went by 5s?
Yeah.
Oh, then yours would all look pretty much the same then, right? Yeah. Okay. Generally, you want to try to spread it out within the space you have. Right? I went by 2s to make sure the bars would fill it up. If you make them too small, then you can't really, you have to estimate too much. So try to fill up the space, okay? The general method is to just like measure how far that is, figure out what your top number is, and then figure out how I can get from there to there in that space. That's why a ruler's good, right? That's about it. So for something like that, because you already had a graph and you're just recreating it, I'd probably only give it 2 marks. If you had to do it from scratch and you didn't have one before, it'd probably be 3. Oh, I forgot this. I forgot to put speeding ticket, the title, revenue. Those red light cameras, that's what they are. They're a cash grab. They don't actually make society any safer. It's just a way for them to collect money. Same with school zones. 30 in a school zone. You know how many kids were hit in school zones before they did that? None. 0. There was no justification to make those school zones 30 other than to collect money. And do you know when they collect most of their money in school zones? On non-school days. Right? Because the sign says in school zones that you have to go 30 during, what is it, like 7:30 to 5:30? A lot of the tickets that they'll collect will be at that like after 4 o'clock because people are like, oh, there's no kids around, school's out, and they just drive 50 ticket. And the other thing is it starts in September, but quite often school doesn't start till like September 6th or 7th, that first week there, right? Plus people have been driving normal speed through school zones all summer. They're like, oh, in their mind, they're like, school's not in session yet. Ticket, ticket, ticket. So, yeah, it's a cash grab. It's basically a tax. 5, you are in charge of sales at a famous international toy store. What's a famous international toy store?
What was?
Was it? Damn. Not famous for going bankrupt, Toys R Us. And, yeah, I don't know.
Well, mine, I guess.
Probably the most famous international toy store now is Amazon. You're looking at the sales data in line graph form. That's a line. And things look good. You have a presentation you need to make to your boss, and you want to change the graph to exaggerate it. You want to make it look like it's been growing even faster, right? You want to make it misleading deliberately. We call that.
You have to take off the 0.
Yeah, so we can truncate it,
Yeah.
right? Hint, start your vertical axis at a number higher than 0. Okay, so my lowest number is 20, right? So if I started it around 20, I could make it look like it's jumped up really fast. Did anybody start theirs at 20? Or close to 20, 15, you know? So yeah, just truncate it. So start over here. I wish there were lines. There isn't. If we called that 20, and if we called this, what are we going up to? 40 is the highest. 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4.
You don't see it on the camera.
It's off.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out what I should go up by. 2, 4, 6, 8, 30. Go up by 3s. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. I'm going to go up by 3s. So I'm going to call that like 23, 26, 29, 32, 35, 38, because that's kind of 38-ish. Okay? That way I can spread it out, so fill up the space to make it look like it's shooting up faster, right? Then for May, I'd put my dot here. For June, that looks like around what? 22-ish, which would be around here, let's say. For July, that looks like 29-ish. So I have a line for 29, that helps. For August, this one looks like 30, 31, 32. And for September, that one's around 38. Okay, then I can just connect the dots, which is always fun to do.
Just thought of Pee-wee Herman
I like Pee Wee Herman.
before he went bad.
When did he go bad?
Remember?
Oh, in real life?
Yeah.
Oh no, but the character was always good. Pee Wee's Big Adventure, classic.
Yeah.
Bike gets stolen, and then he goes on a huge adventure to find his stolen bike. Okay.
Dramatic.
Yeah. So certainly, it looks like it's shooting up faster than this one, and that's all you kind of do. You just change the scale and truncate it so it doesn't start at 0, and then it makes it seem like the increases are greater than they really are.
How often do they do this though?
All the time. Yeah. Bias in the media is huge. So, for example, if you read one newspaper, so the prime minister says something in one newspaper, they'll say that they'll print it as though that's a good thing, and then another newspaper they'll print it as though it's a bad thing.
A negative.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
You
and
know those little pie charts they have in the Winnipeg Free Press, are they actually accurate or are they like not? You know what I'm talking about, right?
yeah, well, they can be accurate, but again, you have to look at it critically to see if it's biased somehow.
Oh, okay.
So especially things like with federal government stuff, it's always based on money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Allocated money. So the federal government might say, they'll always make an announcement about spending money, right? We're going to give an extra $1 billion towards, First Nations school systems, right? And then you do a more critical research and you find out that $1 billion was actually less than what they gave before. So they actually cut it, right? But they're announcing what they're giving. So that's governments love to do that. They love to say, look how much money we're giving you. And then someone else has to come in and say, yeah, you've actually cut. It's actually less than what you used to give us, right? So they always love to. Government in power is always pretending
Did they care?
that they're doing good things,
Yeah.
right? That's how they try to keep power. Okay. I think in the news today there's the current provincial government announced their anti-poverty strategy. Like, we're going to do all this great stuff to help end poverty in Manitoba. And a whole bunch of other groups right away said, well, you've already made all these cuts, which make people who are already poor poorer. And now you're going to come out with a strategy saying how are you going to help without putting that money back. So that's classic government stuff. Okay, so something like this, just 2 marks. Again, you're just recreating a graph. As long as I wouldn't worry too much about what you use here, as long as it looks more dramatic than this, right? Because you're trying to make it look like the increases are greater than they are. All right. Number 6, a group of 100 people were surveyed and asked how many movies they see at the theater per month. The data shown on the chart below. As soon as I see these kind of categories, what kind of graph am I going to make?
A bar.
It looks like a bar graph. It's not called that, though. It's called a histogram. Yeah, because it's continuous data here. So they're bars that attach to each other, basically. So that's a histogram. Use the blank grid below to draw a histogram. Try counting by 10 on the y-axis. So this one gave you a hint on what to do. So let's do it by tens. So if we call that 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Just going to extend it a little bit. 60, that's going to give me enough Hip, do you have a key to lock that cabinet there? I don't have a key.
Oh. To unlock or lock?
Lock it, I think.
Oh, I didn't lock it? I locked it already.
Did you?
I did.
Just double checked. I think Jasmine thought it was open.
No, I think she called me
Okay.
and I locked it. Yeah.
Okay, we're good then. Number of movies. There's 4 categories there, so we'll call this one 0, 1 to 2, 3 to 4, and 5 plus. Okay, so in the 0 category, it goes up to 62, so as long as you get just above this line, that's fine. Something like that. You can even put the number up there if you want. Doesn't hurt. 1 to 2 was 24, so that's around here. 3 to 4 was 10, which is a lot lower. And 5 plus was around 4. So it should look something like that. You can shade it in if you want, whatever you want to do. And if you want to give it a title, what is it? It's comparing,
Movies.
yeah, so movies watched at theaters per month. I have friends who go to every movie. Like every single one. It's like their favorite thing to do. They go to the movie theaters and watch. That's a lot of money.
Do they have those cards?
What's that?
Do they have that card?
Yeah, they must have whatever, but I mean, they actually go to all the movies. Like, how do you go to all the movies? It's extreme.
Expensive.
Yeah, and expensive, yeah. Well, they have no kids. They both have jobs.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
So like money.
Yeah.
Mm.
Once you have kids, everything's expensive. Like you
I wouldn't know.
I go to the zoo like once a year. It costs me like $100. What? To go to the zoo? I mean, the zoo is pretty awesome, but $100?
I was just want to go to the zoo, watch it on Netflix.
Yeah, totally.
Free.
So this is from scratch. This is 3 marks. And last question. The chart below. What's that?
Pie chart, right?
Yeah, pie chart. As soon as you see a circle, you expect it.
Yep.
The chart below shows percentages. Pie charts or circle graphs are really good for showing percentages, like slices of pie. It shows the percentage of people who like each of the given soft drink brands. Coca-Cola, Pepsi, other. Use the circle below. If you want to do a good job, you'll use a protractor, but you don't have to. 52% is like just over half, so if I have any kind of straight edge to show me what half looks like, I might just go like that and then slightly over.
This thing?
Yeah, that thing. Yeah. 52% Coca-Cola.
I need to get that thing.
Pepsi's 35, so that's just over a third, right? So maybe I'll make it like that. 35% Pepsi, and then the
Do you think this is accurate?
other 13%. I already know that my graph isn't very good because 13 should look a lot smaller than 35. So that's why you should always do everything in pencil, which I didn't. Then maybe I would just extend that a little bit, shade it in. Okay, 13%. Or you can use a protractor and do a good job. Okay. And that's about it. 2 marks. It's not too hard to do those. Yeah. It's pretty fast to do. There's not a lot to do with those ones. Yeah. So this test to be worth, let's just add it up, 4, Plus 3 is 7, plus 2 is 9, plus 2 is 11, plus 3 is 14, plus 2, it'd be like out of 16, so give yourself a mark out of 16. Hopefully it's like at least 15. Alright. Because this test is meant to like raise up your mark a bit from the money management unit, which is usually not the best unit for everybody. Right? A lot less stuff to have to worry about, a lot less calculations. How many of you feel confident to do the test? Reasonably? Can we do it tomorrow? Get it over with?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Work on book 4.
Yeah. Yeah? All right.
Can we progress in the notes?
Now here's the extra good news besides this unit. You're allowed for all these like essential math units and on the provincial exam, you're allowed to have notes. So you can make yourself a page of notes for this unit, things you want to remember, even examples, and you can use it on your test. Okay? So your only assignment today then, if you want to like, if you're feeling pretty confident, but you maybe go through and make yourself a page of notes. Go through this and maybe go through the booklet and say, oh, I want to remember this. And just make yourself a note. Remember that when it says percentage, I have to divide by the total. Remember on the bar graphs, I usually need to add up all the values, every single bar. Okay? And you can use that, your own notes. So maybe do that with the time we have left. Make yourself a little study sheet, okay?